Okay, let's jump right in. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to untangle a really complex web of cross-border infiltration and walk through the incredible forensic investigation that ultimately solved the tragic 2019 Pulwama attack. We're going to trace exactly how this happened, step by step.
11. That's a huge number, right? Well, that is actually the exact number of separate, completely ignored intelligence inputs warning of an impending attack on a massive CRPF convoy. Starting in early January 2019, Indian intelligence was receiving these steady whispers. There were reports literally titled Impending Danger, mentions of improvised explosive devices, and specific warnings about terrorists moving into the area. Yet, in the sheer, overwhelming noise of daily intelligence gathering, preventing the strike proved tragically elusive.
So to make sense of this, let's start with part 1, the roots of the terror network. To understand how a security breach of this magnitude even happened, despite those 11 warnings, we really have to rewind. The seeds of this tragedy were actually planted decades ago. The release of Masood Azhar in 1999 slowly laid the groundwork for his nephews Osman and Umar to infiltrate Kashmir. After Azhar launched Jaish-e-Mohammed, the group slowly, meticulously built its presence. A major turning point hit in 2016 when the militant Burhan Wani was killed. That sparked massive unrest and gave JEM the absolute perfect recruitment window. By 2018, Azhar sent his nephews across the border. And they didn't just walk across. They utilized highly sophisticated 25-meter-deep border tunnels right beneath the line of control, completely bypassing surface security. Now, here's a crucial piece of the puzzle. Jaish-e-Mohammed relied heavily on this completely invisible network of everyday people. They're called OGWs, or overground workers. To execute an operation like this, the infiltrators simply couldn't act alone. They needed local shopkeepers, electricians, and drivers who just wouldn't draw any suspicion. These OGWs were the absolute lifeblood of the terror network, secretly handling all the logistics, providing the safe houses, and tracking troop movements right under the authorities' noses. Which brings us to part 2. The masterminds and the bomber. Let's look at how this builds into the radicalization of the local youth who would ultimately pull the trigger on this attack. Once the mastermind, Umar, was safely across the border, they needed a local face for the operation. Enter Adil Dar. When this 12th grader crossed into Pakistan-occupied Kashmir for training, he was given a choice. Recruits chose between 2 paths, the Ingamasi, which is standard combat training, or the Istishadi, which is suicide bomber training. Adil specifically bypassed combat training. He committed entirely to the Istishadi path, learning how to drive vehicles loaded with heavy explosives, preparing himself exclusively for a suicide mission. You might be wondering, how does a high school student get to that point? Well, Adil was a local kid from Kakapura. After participating in stone-pelting protests, he was briefly detained and later actually shot in the leg, which led him to drop out of school and take a job at a local wood mill. It was right there, while he was harboring this deep resentment, that he was manipulated by an OGW electrician named Mudassir Khan, who convinced him to join up with Jaish-e-Mohammed. Adil basically became the perfect weapon, local, familiar with the terrain, and just filled with anger. All right, part 3, assembling the deadly device. With Umar and Adil ready to go, the operation, which they codenamed Qisas, or Revenge, shifted entirely to logistics and bomb-making, and this required immense coordination. The OGW network operated with just chilling efficiency. You had everyday civilians acting as gears in a terror machine. Shakir Bashir literally sat in his furniture shop on the highway, casually noting down every detail of passing military convoys. Sajjad Pot went out and bought a used blue 2011 Maruti Eco car for 185,000 rupees. Bilal got the phones, and Abbas managed the safe houses. They operated so smoothly in plain sight, pulling together all the ingredients for a catastrophe. In total, they meticulously packed a staggering 200 kilograms of explosives into that tiny Maruti Eco car. Umar, using training he actually got in Afghanistan, layered smuggled military-grade RDX, 500 commercial gelatin sticks, and ammonium nitrate into these massive blue and orange containers. He then wired the main trigger switch right next to the steering wheel, essentially turning the middle seat of this small passenger car into a massive rolling bomb. And honestly, what's deeply unsettling here is the contrast between what they were doing and how they were acting. Digital records later showed them casually joking around, taking selfies, and smearing the silver aluminum powder used for the bomb all over their faces and hair. There was absolutely no hesitation, no fear, just a chillingly casual approach to building a device that was meant for mass casualties. This leads us to part 4, the highway attack itself. So everything was set on their end. But heavy snowfall had actually delayed the CRPF troops, causing a massive backup of soldiers at the Jammu transit camp. These guys had been waiting for days for the weather to clear. By February 14, 2019, the weather finally broke, and 2,547 CRPF soldiers were cleared to travel. Because of that long delay, the convoy was exceptionally large. We're talking 78 buses and vehicles stretching way down the NH-44 highway. The sheer volume of troops meant they had to use standard, non-bulletproof buses right alongside the armored ones. There's a really striking twist of fate here. A few soldiers originally assigned to the fatal bus number 5 narrowly escaped death just by pure chance. Had Constable Kirpal Singh asked someone to swap shifts because of his daughter's upcoming wedding, and Constable Thakre Belkar got last-minute leave approved for his own wedding. These incredibly mundane, everyday decisions unknowingly saved their lives, which just highlights the random, tragic nature of what was about to happen. At 2:50 p.m., as the convoy is moving down the highway, Assistant Sub-Inspector Mohan Lal, part of the road opening party, spots this blue Maruti Eco driving erratically, desperately trying to merge into the convoy. He immediately blows his whistle, chases the car, fires his weapon, and flashes a Code 44 high alert on the radio. But despite his absolutely heroic last-minute efforts to stop the vehicle, Adildar just ignored the gunfire and rammed the bomb-laden car directly into bus number 5. The resulting explosion martyred 40 soldiers, including ASI Mohan Lal. Moving on to Part 5, the Forensic Trail. The aftermath was a scene of just total devastation, with debris scattered up to 600 meters away. But this is exactly where the National Investigation Agency, led by Rakesh Balwal, began their painstaking detective work to piece the truth back together. Step by step, investigators worked backward. It all started with a single piece of metal, a destroyed crankshaft found in the wreckage. Maruti technicians traced the engine number through 7 different buyers, eventually pointing straight to the OGW Sajjad. Meanwhile, the FBI stepped in to help trace the digital footprint of the terrorists' claim video, finding the WhatsApp IP originated in Pakistan. And most incredibly, during a massive search involving 400 soldiers, the NIA found a tiny car key stamped with 10261 buried deep in the snow near the Jhelum River. And forensic science quickly locked in those facts. Right next to that car key, investigators found small bone fragments. By running a DNA test against Adildar's father, they positively confirmed the identity of the suicide bomber beyond a shadow of a doubt. But while Adil's role was confirmed, the elusive Pakistani mastermind, Umar, who had orchestrated the entire plot, was still out there hiding in the shadows. And that brings us to our final act, Part 6, a fatal digital clue. The entire terror network eventually unraveled, all because of one single, arrogant mistake by the mastermind, a mistake rooted entirely in digital overconfidence. Long before the attack, Umar had arrogantly taunted a local police officer over WhatsApp from a random number. He sent a pistol emoji and the message, "Hi Janu, I will come to your house and kill you." Well, that officer astutely saved the number as "Hi Janu" and put it on cybercell tracking. Months after the Pulwama attack, Umar urgently needed to make a call and briefly turned that old phone back on. The very second it connected to the network, cyber trackers instantly pinpointed his location. That led security forces right to his door, resulting in a fatal encounter. Now, Indian forces didn't actually realize they had killed the Pulwama mastermind at first. He was operating under a totally fake ID. During the gunfight, Umar even managed to smash his iPhone and his Samsung device. But when investigators reopened cold cases months later, they sent these broken phones to the cybersecurity agency CERT-IN. The physical phones were totally destroyed, sure, but the agency managed to extract over 100 gigabytes of deleted backup data synced to his cloud accounts. It was an unprecedented investigative breakthrough. This 100 gigabytes of data was an absolute goldmine. It laid the entire conspiracy bare. It contained 16 hours of voice notes, directly matching the voice of Pakistani handler Ralph Asghar. It had geotagged photos proving the bomb was built right at the OGW Shakir's house. It had those selfies with the silver powder. But crucially, it also contained intimate photos of Umar with a local girl named Insha. When the stubbornly silent OGW Shakir was shown these photos, he was so deeply disillusioned by the commander he idolized that he confessed to everything, completely exposing the whole network. Confronted with this massive mountain of digital and forensic evidence, the captured accomplices simply couldn't hide the truth anymore. They confessed to their roles, allowing the NIA to piece together every single logistical detail. This incredible investigative effort culminated in August 2020, when the NIA filed a staggering 13,800-page charge sheet, documenting the entire conspiracy from the border tunnels all the way to the highway tragedy, finally bringing those responsible to justice. As we close out this explainer, we really have to step back and ask ourselves a vital question. In an age where digital footprints are virtually permanent, where one single saved WhatsApp message can take down a whole terror cell, how do modern intelligence agencies better filter the noise of daily threats to prevent such intricate cross-border tragedies in the future? The intelligence was definitely there, but so was the noise. The investigation was absolutely flawless, but it came after the tragedy. Finding that balance is the true security challenge of our modern era.